So looking at shape 10, it's just a rectangular prism with two semicircles cut out of it. We've got a half circle cut out of this top face, and then we have a quarter of a circle cut out of this left side face over here on this side. And so let's start by just building a big rectangular prism. So I'm going to create a new sketch, go to my front view, and this rectangular prism has a width of 2 inches and a height of 1.25 inches. So I'm going to grab my rectangle tool. I'm going to click on my origin and drag, and I'm going to type in my height first, 1.25. Then I'll hit tab on my keyboard and type in a width of 2 inches and hit enter, and I have a fully constrained rectangle. I'm going to go to finish sketch and hit extrude, and I want this to extrude a depth of 1.5 inches. And so let's type that in, 1.5, hit OK. And then we just need to cut out these two semicircles. So let's start with this half circle on this top face. And so I'll select my top face and go to new sketch. And let me zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to start with my circle tool. And I'm just going to draw a circle somewhere towards the right side of this shape. Right click and hit OK. Now, if you can tell, this circle is centered on this edge. And so we're going to take our coincident constraint and tell the center of our circle to be centered along this edge. Right click OK. And so now this circle is stuck on this edge. It can't move left or right, but I can move it up and down, and I can also change the size of this. I want to go to my home view so we can get a better look at this. And so we need to figure out those two dimensions. And if I grab my dimension tool and I select my circle, it'll give me a diameter of this circle. If you notice, it gave me the radius. Now we could easily figure out the diameter from the radius. You just double it. But I'm going to right click and hit cancel. I want to show you a different trick in Fusion. If we grab our trim tool and we trim off this half of the circle that's sticking outside of our edge, now we only have a half circle. Now if I grab my dimension tool and I select this half circle, it'll automatically give me a radius. It no longer gives me a diameter for dimension. Whenever you dimension a half circle, it automatically measures the radius. Whenever you dimension a full circle, it automatically measures the diameter. And what is our radius? Well, it's 0.5. Hit enter, right click, cancel, and now I can drag this half circle up and down. What else do we know about this semicircle? Well, we know that the center of this semicircle is 0.75 away from this edge. So let's grab our dimension tool again. Let's click on the center of our semicircle to this edge over here, drag that out, and tell that to be 0.75, and hit OK. And now we have a fully constrained sketch. I'm going to go ahead and finish and extrude. And I want to cut out this edge all the way through. Hit OK. And there we go. Now we have this semicircle cut out of this edge. What about this quarter circle over here? Well, this one can be a little bit tricky, especially since we've never done anything like this before. But this is not actually cut out of the side face. It is not cut out of the top face. And you can't really cut this shape out of either of those faces. In order to cut this semicircle out, we have to actually go around to the left side of our shape and start a new sketch over here. So let's create a sketch. And let's grab our circle tool. And I'm just going to draw it along this face. Right click and hit OK. And if you look, this is clearly a quarter circle. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to grab my coincident constraint and I'm going to tell the center of my circle to be coincident with this top corner over here. If I go to my home view, this is what it'll look like. Hopefully you can start to see it, but only a quarter of the circle, let me go over to the other side, only a quarter of my circle is inside my shape. The other 3/4 are outside in free space. Now that I've got it centered, I want to grab my trim tool and I want to trim off that outside 3/4 of my circle. Right click and hit OK. And then I want to grab my dimension tool and I want to tell this semicircle to have a radius. You'll notice that it's measuring a radius because it is a semicircle. It is not a full circle. To have a radius of 1. And hit enter. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Mr. Anderson, could I have dimensioned it before I made it a quarter circle, before I trimmed off that outer edge? And the answer is Yes, you would have just had to double the radius to be a diameter of 2 inches instead. In the end, it would have been the same shape. But now we have a fully constrained sketch. I'm going to go to my home view and finish my sketch and hit extrude. And you'll notice that I can't select that face. Let me go back over here to this other corner and select my shape and then drag it in. And now I can go back to my home view and do whatever I want to it. And how far does it extrude in? Well, it extrudes in 1 inch. And we need to make sure we type in a -1 to make sure it extrudes the correct direction. And then hit OK. And we are done with this shape. Let's go ahead and save it as shape 10. Hit save. And then let's make sure it's saved in here. And there you have it.